Hey, welcome back. Today, we are going to tackle a pretty big idea, one that might just flip how you think about AI. If you're like a lot of people and you're using just one AI model for basically everything, well, your strategy might already be obsolete. So let's break down why. Okay, let's just start with the question that's on everyone's mind, right? You see it all over the internet, you hear it in meetings. Which AI model is the absolute best one? It feels like the most important question you could possibly ask. But what if I told you that's completely 100% the wrong question to be asking? Seriously, the people who are getting the most out of AI right now, they've moved way past this debate, and it's time we all caught up. And that brings us right to our first topic. We're going to dig into something called the single model mistake and talk about this really common problem that a lot of us fall into, which is this idea of a model monoculture. So, what in the world is model monoculture? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's when you rely on just one go to AI for everything. You use it to write your emails, to code a script, to do research, to analyze data, the whole shebang. Sound familiar? It's a huge but super common mistake. So, why is it such a big deal? Well, because it leads to some very real and honestly very predictable problems. You end up with inconsistent results, you're often paying way more money than you need to, and you're fundamentally using the wrong tool for the job. And that last point, that one's absolutely crucial. You start to think, ugh, AI failed, when what really happened was you just gave the task to the wrong specialist. But don't worry, there is a much smarter way to do this. And this brings us to a new strategy, a new term you're going to want to remember: cognitive workload routing. This is the real key to unlocking high-performance AI. And to get our heads around this, let's just use a super simple analogy that makes it all click. Think about building a team of human experts at your job. You wouldn't ask your brilliant accountant to design your next marketing campaign, would you? Of course not, that'd be crazy. You build a team of specialists. And that is exactly what cognitive workload routing is. It's the intentional, deliberate practice of designing a system that assigns specific jobs to different AI models based on what they're actually good at, how much they cost, and even how they tend to mess up. It's all about being an architect, not just a user. So let's meet the team. In this next part, we're going to look at the different AI specialists we have available and figure out how to match the right model to the right task to get the best possible results. Okay, now this is where the strategy gets real. Think of this as your AI specialist roster. For drafting, for iterative writing, ChatGPT is your go-to workhorse. It's just so good at maintaining a consistent style. But for deep, complex reasoning, say analyzing a dense legal document, oh, you want to call in Cloud for that job. For research, where you absolutely need sources and traceability, Perplexity is your specialist. And for all those cheap, scalable background tasks like data extraction, you use the open-weight models like Llama or DeepSeek. See? Each one has a specific job. Let's make this even more concrete. Imagine you're putting together a big report. You'd start by using ChatGPT for that initial drafting and refinement, right? It just excels at that back and forth conversational process. But then when you need to analyze the complex data behind that report, that's when you route that cognitive load over to Claude because it's built to handle that kind of deep, logical work. Two different tasks, two different specialists. It's that simple. Okay, so every model has its quirks, right? Times when it doesn't quite work perfectly. We tend to call these weaknesses or, failure behaviors, but we really need to rethink that whole idea. This quote right here, this is the key mindset shift. These are not weaknesses. They are operational characteristics that inform intelligent routing. So the fact that a certain model might be, say, a little too concise isn't some flaw you complain about. No, it's an operational characteristic. It's data that tells you how and when to use it. It's information for your system. So now that we know who our specialists are, how do we actually assemble them? Let's take a look at what it takes to build your very own high-performance AI stack. You see, in practice, a really good system uses layered logic. You've got your drafter, your deep thinker, your fact checker, your workflow integrator, your cheap and efficient automator, and your real-time analyst. It's a full cognitive assembly line, not just one hammer looking for a nail. And you want to know the best part? This isn't just some cool theory. When you adopt this strategy, it leads to 3 clear, measurable, and pretty immediate outcomes that will totally transform your work. So what's in it for you? Well, first, you get much higher consistency in your results. Second, you dramatically lower your operational costs because you're using cheaper models for the simple stuff. And third, you spend way less time fact-checking and dealing with hallucinations because you're using specialists like Perplexity for that. It is more effective and more efficient. So really, this all comes down to a decisive shift in our thinking. It's about learning to ask the right question whenever you approach a task with artificial intelligence. And this right here, this brings us to the most important shift of all. We have got to stop asking the old question, which model is the smartest? The new strategic question we need to be asking is which model is perfectly suited to handle this specific cognitive load right here, right now. Because here's the bottom line. Artificial intelligence is no longer a single tool. It's not one hammer you can just use for every nail. It is an engineered cognitive infrastructure. Now, that sounds fancy, but it's a powerful idea. We're not just using a universal assistant anymore. We are architects of a complex system where the intelligent routing, the way we direct the workflow, is actually more important than the raw intelligence of any one single model. So I'll just leave you with this one final thought to chew on. As you move forward with AI, are you still just using a single all-purpose tool, or are you ready to start building your cognitive infrastructure? Thanks for joining me.